Did you ever feel like the environment you grew up in could put a ceiling or define your ceiling in terms of where you can get to?
I don't believe that where you grew up really should.
There's always that disconnect between when the ambition does not fit well with the reality.
Understanding that things are not given. You need to work for things. And I told my boss that I'm actually...
What story about Rwanda's business environment do you wish more people knew?
I'll just tell him, like, hang in there. Just keep going. The future is bright.
Hello and welcome to the Rooted in Quality podcast by Afro Quality. Today we have a gentleman whose story starts from the streets of Nyamirambo in Kigali to building one of the most impressive businesses in the country, and we are here to share with him his thoughts and ideas about how to build in Rwanda and his lessons about resilience and entrepreneurship from an African perspective. Welcome, Mr. Malik Shafi, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Great. Yeah, Malik, so when people hear your name and they see the work that you have done, they see a businessman, a polished public image and all that. But if I am to ask on the streets of Nyamirambo, who is Malik Shafi, what do you think I'll be told?
A Nyamirambo kid, a hustler, very hard-headed person, I guess, a curious person. So I think I'm just trying to make up things because usually I like to say I do a lot of masterclass on personal branding.
Okay.
And I usually tell people that your personal brand is what people think or talk about you when you're not around. So because I'm not there, I don't know my personal brand, how it's positioned. But from myself on how I grew up and how I interact with people, I think that's probably what they will think. Potentially in terms of being curious, that's where I grew up. And then since when I was a kid, I was really, really curious. And I grew up really trying different things. And again, being raised in Nyamirambo, which is a very multicultural location, a neighborhood. So it gives you that motivation and juice to really try out things and be curious, explore, and then so forth.
For you, maybe to put the question differently, what have you heard or how have you heard yourself being described by somebody and you're like, okay, that sounds quite accurate based on the way you know yourself?
I think the most I get that really comes a lot from people is the possibility of doing more. Because all the time people ask me, like, Malik, what don't you do, right? What are you not involved in? And then I think that comes from the possibility or the blessings I have to actually do more in different sectors or in different domains.
Now, you talked about growing up in Nyamirambo. Did you ever feel like the environment you grew up in could put a ceiling or define your ceiling in terms of where you can get to?
No, I don't believe that where you grew up really should create a ceiling on you. I do think that where you grew up usually has a big role in shaping the person you are, right? And then it shapes you in different ways. So it could be in a good way, right? Or it could be in a bad way. It always depends on who you are as a person and how you choose and what you choose in your environment, right? So you could choose to learn from the good things or take the bad things that you've seen in the environment where you're growing in and really decide not to be that or actually get stuck. So usually I tell when I'm discussing with a few people from like the actual childhood friends, I usually say that by default I was supposed to be a driver or to sell chapati on the street. because that's what majority of people we grew up together are doing today, right? But that's not what I'm doing. It's because I've managed to take that, what I've seen on that person who sell chapati on the street, on that person who decided to be a bus driver, what was their motivation, and I took that motivation and I made it into something of my own that is different to being a bus driver or a chapati seller on the street.
Was there a time whilst growing up that like you had that inflection point when you said, okay, you are going to change the narrative for you?
Yeah, so the beauty is, one, we live in a very good environment, and we live in a very beautiful country that do not really create any disaggregation or any selection of who you are, where you're born, where you're from, etc. But I have this story when I was in high school, and then one of my teacher, or the person who was working in the school where I was going to, so he looked at me and then he looked at my behavior and he labeled me as someone who comes in a place where they should have less expectation from. So, and it really, really made me really, really feel bad about myself. Of like, this is what people see when they see me before they even see my capability. That with so many other things, but really, that's at least as far as I can remember. I was like, because of that, I'm gonna prove the world so wrong that you cannot label me of where I come from, and just give you an autonomy to label me in the same way you want. So I should own my story. I should own my narrative, on really of for what I want, not for where I come from. Yeah.
Do you ever meet this person?
I
Or
wish. I wish. I really wish. I am sure.
what would you do if you were to meet?
I would greatly happy to. I'll greet him. I'm sure he will tell himself so much, because the levels are gonna be very different today. Um, he probably doesn't even remember. So that's the problem. Sometimes we tell people things that could affect them, either positively or negatively, but you don't even remember,
Realize.
right? So I'm sure he doesn't even remember that he said that. I'm sure he doesn't even think or remember the weight of his word, how much it's affected me. Yeah.
People call Nyamirambo as a tough place. For you, knowing and having lived it, what does tough really mean?
So our country really developed, yeah. I don't think Nyamirambo is as tough as it used to be. But let me say Nyamirambo is one of the most multicultural location we have in Rwanda. So after 1994, the genocide against the Tutsi, we had different people coming from different places. And I think Nyamirambo was one of the places that had many diasporas in one small place. So people from Congo, Uganda, Burundi, Kenya, really living in the same neighborhood. So what that created really a multicultural neighborhood, that it had a lot of mixture in terms of culture. So that's what maybe you would say it's a hard place. But it also created really the hustle mentality, right? Because people are coming back in exile, coming back home, and they really had to make it, right? So, and they will do whatever it takes actually to make it. Is it to sell grilled fish on the street? Is it to sell brochette on the road? Is it to sell second-hand clothes? So you would literally find anything in that neighborhood, right? So, and then that came from multiculturalism, for people really coming together, but also for really the anger of making it, right? It's like, I'm here now, I need
I
to
need to
start
do
from
something.
scratch, so I need to do something.
Do you see your street smartness as an advantage, especially coming from the environment where everybody wanted to do something because there's that sense of having come back and wanting to figure
Yeah.
things out since you've been back?
Yeah, yes, 100%. So by education, I was not really very lucky to, where I graduated in, as everyone would graduate. but I usually don't consider schools as a big part of my life, because I spent 7 years doing undergrad.
Wow. Okay.
And in high school, I changed school like 3 or 4 times. So, in as much as I've managed to always graduate and have my school papers, um, school really played so little in my life than things that I've learned from people. So I usually tell people that the best schools I could ever attend is people. So the people I've met in my early career, who were my bosses, my coworkers, like the people we talk on the streets, I think I've really, really learned a lot from those individuals, and to the point that when to the point even now when I get so busy and I don't have time to meet people, I feel so bad because I am good with people. I'm better when I meet people, when I manage to learn from people. So I would say yes, the street smart, really. But where does the street smart come from? It comes from meeting different people. And when I meet you, I know that you have something. And then what that something can you share with me? Can you be my inspiration of today?
So the streets sharpened your instincts in a way that the classroom couldn't. Now, did it make you maybe did it make you like suspicious when you have that ability to read people and having been on the street to say, okay, now I can figure out this guy probably could do something to hurt me or might lie to me or might betray me? Do you?
Well, that comes from experience, right? So it comes from, and that's again why meeting different people and allowing yourself to discuss with different individuals unbiased. It really gives you different opportunity to understand human, because and what I'm saying there, it means that it comes by experience, right? Because if you are talking today, you can tell me one thing, and then you do something different. So when I meet the second person, if they tell me the same thing as you said, I'll be like,
Make a note.
I know, I've seen this before, right? So you start connecting patterns. So I would say yes. So growing in different community with different people, allowing myself really to be a people person, where I can discuss with everyone and then be approachable, and then also not afraid to approach other people as well. Most of the jobs I've gotten in my life either was have been I've been called by someone we met, or actually I've texted someone and say, "Hey, I want to meet you," and I'd be like, "I need a job," and I know you have a job. So I've rarely written job applications or applied for a job. So it has always came in those two places, and again that's because of the knowledge and the discussion. Even in business today, that's still really my biggest approach of the business. It's either word of mouth, people referring to us because of the quality of the work we've done, or actually people I know, or even people I don't know. I go to see them and say, hey, let me tell you how good we are.
I like where you've taken this conversation to. I want us to dig a little bit into the business area and the process and the journey that you've been on with building your businesses. Um, in business, in most circles around the world, there's always identity, people within certain classes, networks, family networks that help to set up people in business. Did you ever feel like an outsider in the case of Rwanda when you entered into the business space?
Not in the case of Rwanda, but in some sort of situations, right? So again, Rwanda is a country for everyone. So and the competition is always open to everyone. But that said, so it doesn't mean that sometimes you'll get somewhere and then someone will be like, "Who are you? Where are you from? I don't know you. What have you done in life?
Who's your father?
With your father?" Like those type of questions. So there is always a moment of those of that. What I've been trying to do generally really is to build my personal brand. That when I come, it's not about where I come from. It's not about who is my parent. It's not about any other sort of thought of who are my friends, etc. It's more about who I am as Malik, and then what have I done? What has our business done? What is the capability we have to actually deliver for you? And I would say, Alhamdulillah, that's still really it does work for us so far. And again, because of building that personal brand, it's very rare that we would go somewhere they don't know us. And sometimes they will know us richly, which is also really good, actually, if you ask me. Most of our clients would hire us knowing what is good for us and then what is not good for us, right? So they'll be like, oh yeah, we really know you guys, you can do this, but we also have heard this. I'm like, yes, everything you've heard is true. So let me tell you why you've heard the positive things and the negative things, and then it's up to you to choose.
So it sort of serves as an introduction even before you walk into the room.
It does, but it's also about, make lemonade into lemons. So you just used to take a story, like if you are known to do something that necessarily not really the best that you can be known on. How do you actually flip that story and then own it? Because it's you, right?
No one is perfect.
No one is perfect. Yeah. So rather than fighting for it, and then that's really who you are, you just own it, really.
When anyone looks at your story, do you feel like, in a way, it has helped to change the narrative to an extent about what Nyamirambo is?
Yes, probably beyond Nyamirambo. I think we have defined what is a creative. We have defined that you can be a creative in this country and then be successful, right? So it's very. I remember when I was in secondary school. I've tried different things in the creative industry, and then one of the things I've tried was to sing. And then when my dad got to know that I was going in the studio to record songs, it was a disaster in my home. I was seriously punished. Very serious decision was made on me, etc. So that is not the case in this country anymore. People support kids when they hear that they are musicians. In general, like you see this young person, probably he's feeding a whole family by doing this, right? When we started, it was not like that. I remember my first gig, I was just right from high school, and I was assisting someone who was a cameraman as a light guy. And in that moment, Rwanda, we didn't have really this nice lighting that you could use in videography. We used to use the actual outdoor projectors, like these ones that it's like 5,000 watts, bro. It burns you, and you do the same job, and you don't even get paid, right? You go home like midnight from a wedding shoot, and then your parents are like, "Where are you coming from?" It's like, "I'm coming from work," but you don't have money, right? But we've really persisted that, and then worked in a sense that we can prove people that you can be a creative and then make money, and it's possible.
You touched on the work that you just did, but I want to zone in a little bit. When it comes to what you're doing now, at what point did you do like your first gig and you felt like, okay, I could be in the creative space, maybe not as a musician, but maybe as a production person or as a storyteller?
So to start with, I think I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I spot entrepreneurship opportunities even before creative opportunities. My first business, I was in high school. I was selling juice and biscuit to my schoolmate. And then after that, I have done multiple things. So I think for me, really, first of all, it's spotting business opportunities than anything. But at heart, I'm more of a creative entrepreneur than any other business. So I'm so passionate about different things, education, tech, but really what I do best is creative. So, and the reason is that maybe to say what was my touch point and to realize is that the creative is the way to go. One is because I believe in gig economy to start with. And creative is one of the things that really can boost gig economy. But second as well is that the investment in creative is not that big to start. So
Okay.
we started with nothing. So we started with like one computer. Now we have a whole hub with over 30 employees. So it's really an easy to start business than many other business that I could wish to start.
So the creative is, I don't want to call it convenience, but it was the low hanging fruit.
Was low hanging fruit in a sense of capacity and experience.
Okay.
Yes, let me say that because I've done it for many times. I've worked with different people. So really shaping a creative business to be successful will be much easier than anything. Like for example, now I'm building. We've started another venture of building a school, but I don't know much in education, right? So I'm learning so much and I'm investing so much to learn. While with the creatives, I already knew, right?
Okay.
And I already had a vision. I already know the how, the who, and then everything. So I had it really figured out.
Being a serial entrepreneur, I would assume that you have your own bag of failures.
A lot.
Which one of them maybe you could say is the most public failure you've had?
Um, I've had a lot of failures. I think one of the biggest one was one of the things I am passionate about. I like is food. I love food business,
Okay.
and I've tried food business a couple of times, succeeded and failed. And the first time I tried this, I opened a restaurant in Nyamirambo. It was called Chap Chap, and so it was very successful at the beginning, very popular. Even now, almost 10 years ago, people still call me and say, "Is this Chap Chap? Where are you located?" And I'm telling you, the restaurant has been closed over 6, 7 years now. But still people calls me. However, there were so many mistakes we made when we were opening the restaurant. Not understanding the customer base, not understanding cash flow management, it's restaurant management, that made me literally get to the closure of the business. So I had to be like, this is enough. I'm losing so much money, so much energy, reputation on the road, the reputation as well. So let me close the business. So we had to close, and it was sad to literally close a business. And yeah, I've also had what else? I think the restaurant is the most
It's the most public.
prominent, the most public.
When you think about the number of risks that you've taken, is there one that you can maybe categorize as a smart risk that you took and you look back and was like, well, that was risky, but it's paid off?
Yes, that's not really that far. It's last year. So with all my entrepreneurship journey, I've always combined being an entrepreneur and also having a full-time job.
Okay.
Until only last year, I sat and realized that I can either really stay in 9 to 5, or I can just close my heart, close my eyes, just be an entrepreneur. And of course, that comes with a lot of calculations. I have a family. I have a lot of responsibilities. And as an entrepreneur, the one thing that is not guaranteed is money, right? So now, with someone with responsibilities, that becomes quite a really big hurdle. So yeah, but I had to do some savings
Mathematics.
here, some mathematics there, and I told my boss that I'm done. I'm going to do things on my own, and then be full time in my own business. And so far, so good. I think it's probably definitely the best decision I've made. Do I know how the end is? I can't predict. But really, I'm happy with my decision, and I'm just seeing results. Like, we've probably now, in the last 11, 10 months, we've now grown maybe like 5x. So, and that's only in 10 months. So I hope that we
The
keep this
focus
growth so that
helps to grow.
we can actually be able to even grow 10x every year.
So I guess there hasn't been a time when you sat down and looked at it and thought that maybe this would not work, because so far you are on the rise or you're on the
No,
growth
no,
path.
no, 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 no. It doesn't work like that. Every day, I think that it won't work.
Even with the growth, with the 5x growth.
Because growth comes with responsibilities.
Okay.
It does not necessarily mean that growth comes with profit. Growth comes with responsibilities. Um, Responsibilities in terms of delivery, responsibilities in terms of recruitment, also return, and then that create more demand, right? No, it creates more internal, it creates more heavy operations, right? So if I'm growing in contract, I'm also losing some as well, right? So it cannot go a single day when I lose a client or when I read an email from a tender that I really, really wanted. When I say, unfortunately, you were
You're
not
not selected.
selected, I tell people, I've come to a master of telling people that nowadays when I open an email, I first go to find where there is unfortunately. And then when I don't find unfortunately, it's when I can
Come
read the
back to
email.
read.
Yes, so there is fears every day. There is really fears every day, but there is also hope every day. Because when I meet someone admiring what we are doing, when I know a client is happy, that is also a motivation.
You know, I'm thinking about what you just said about fear. And do you build for yourself a coping mechanism that allows you to deal with it?
Yes. I well, um, that's a hard one. But in all honesty speaking, when you do this type of things, your mental status cannot be well. Um, because well, if you take that and then probably connect with other backgrounds or other things that probably happened to you in the past, sometimes you it can be
The
very
weight is
heavy.
heavy.
The weight is heavy. So I am really one of the biggest advocate of people to actually take care of their mental health.
Okay.
And then I do the same as well. So I talk about it. I see people. I consult doctors when it's needed. And I also, well, I'm lucky. I have a really beautiful family. So my family is also one of my biggest motivation and coping mechanism. But it's very important to really take care of our mental health. And when it's needed to seek help, we should seek help. So I always publicly admire that. Publicly accept and communicate that I seek help when I can't.
You know, there's a lot of I don't want to call it hype, but there's a lot of talk about entrepreneurship and keeping up the grind and young people working yourself because you really want to build something great.
Yeah.
And there's always that disconnect between when the ambition does not fit well with the reality.
Yeah.
So you talked about mental health as being something that you want to be cautious about
Yeah.
to help keep yourself sane.
Mm.
Beyond that, is there any framework that
Yeah.
you would want to maybe share with a lot of entrepreneurs out there who might be listening? Because the hustle is real and the toughness of the hustle is also
Yeah.
realer.
Maybe let me start by saying that everyone was not meant to be an entrepreneur. Because if you all become entrepreneurs, then who do we hire? Right?
Okay.
It's so the same as everyone is not meant to be a teacher, everyone is not meant to be a doctor, etc. So it's really great that we people and then young people get a motivation of creating their own jobs, right? Be entrepreneurs and do that. But I think the most important thing is self-awareness.
Knowing yourself.
Knowing yourself. What are you good at? What does it motivate you, right? Just because you've seen someone doing it and be successful, it doesn't mean that you can also do it and be successful, right? Just find your callings, find your blessing. So I think that's really where I start from. And once you know that, then you can venture into entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship, it's not an easy journey, right? You don't just wake up and buy a fancy car or have a fancy house or go to vacation, etc. It's like when people see that, which that's what mostly people see on social media, when they see entrepreneurs, that is the top of the iceberg.
They don't see the rest.
The rest. So underneath the iceberg, there is sleepless night, there is loss, there is bank loans, there is people stealing from you, there is your employee leaving, the one that you trained most, and then you lose them. There is a lot of pain that is underneath, that you have to go through to actually get to that top of the iceberg and be happy. So don't just expect that life is going to be beautiful in a blink of an eye. Eventually it's going to be nice. Eventually it's beautiful. But you have to go through pain before.
To understand the processes and the steps that
Exactly.
it's taking. So touching about this, because there's always that public perception about the prosperity that you get as an entrepreneur and all the successes. For you as a businessman who is out there in the public's eye, how different is the Malik who is at home with friends and family from the Malik that the rest of the world knows?
Nope. I'm really one person. I Again, as I told you, I advocate a lot for personal branding. And then one thing I tell people in personal branding is that you are only one person.
Okay.
You cannot be two people, right? So you have one heart, you have two eyes, you have two arms. If you are a normal person, right, you have everything that one human could have. So therefore, you should not create two faces. You should not create the person you are at home. You should not create the person you are with friends. You should not create the person you are when you go out. You're literally one person, especially with nowadays with the internet, right? Because people see. And one thing you do not want to do that would really that won't really be good for your personal brand is for me to Google you and admire you when I meet you and I feel like you're a whole different person, right? So what may be change is that to know that everything has its own time, right? So if I'm at home, it's home time, it's family time. So let me not continue the mentality of being in the office and then stay on my computer, etc. Right? So if I'm at the office, right, I'm not in a playtime, right? So it's just more being conscious of where you are, but really your principles, your values as a person should never change.
So there was a time when there was a lot of talk about fake it till you make it. Obviously, from what you said, you don't belong to that school.
Well, I have my own definition of fake it until you make it. So it's not about show people that you are successful until you become successful, right? It's show people that you can do it until you actually can do it, right? So that's how I define it. So, for example, my own definition of fake it until you make it, it will be very rare that you come to me and say, Malik, can you do this? And I tell you no. As long as I know someone who can do it, I'm going to tell you, yes, I can do it. And I'll give you a code for it. And then I'll go to find that person and I'll be like, hey, I have this, let's do it, right? So for me, it's really the how, because there are some people that I've seen that really live the true definition of fake it until you make it. And I admire them so much, right? But because they're living it, right? So they are showing you that they're on the path to be entrepreneurs, right? They are not there yet, but they are really on that path, right? That's how they are building it. And then there are those other people that just show you that, oh, I'm there already. But they're doing nothing to be there, right? So you actually won't make it. You are faking it, but you'll never make it.
Because the groundwork, the foundation does not exist.
Yeah.
What do people often get wrong about you? I see the passion in your eyes when you're talking about fake it till you make it and the way you define it. And I don't know. Tell me, what do you think people get mostly wrong about you?
I don't know. What do people get wrong about me? I honestly don't know. Well, I think at least one of the things I know a lot of people think that I'm arrogant. I've heard this a lot. But this comes from, if you ask me my personal perspective of it is because I am always honest with people. So if it's yes, it's yes. If it's no, it's no. Although I also say that I am a people person also, I don't know how to fake that I like you if I don't like you.
Okay.
So I'm really, really, really honest. I tell you crystal clear what I think about a particular subject. So, and sometimes people don't really like the truth, and then that can come a lot as arrogancy, which I understand, especially if you use a different tone. So I think probably in the process of math, I've probably hurt a few people around because of that.
You've just been very straight with them.
Yeah, not that really I meant to hurt you at all, but just because I meant to actually be true to myself and be honest of what I think of a particular situation.
How did you get to that stage where you decided or you realized that, okay, for you to have your peace of mind, you just have to be straight with people? Was there a time when maybe you struggled with living a story that you are told?
It's because I feel bad when I don't do it.
Okay.
I feel bad, and I don't see any result. So I keep quiet, I don't see result. I would rather tell you to actually try. So I'm one of those guys who believes that I would rather regret what I've done rather than regretting what I didn't do.
Okay.
Yes. So and then that's really my one of my mantra, even in risk taking. When anything comes, I just do it. So now I'll be like, oh yeah, that was a bad move. But rather than say I should have done this or I should have said so.
How do you handle trust in relationships for you? And when you, in the scheme of things, how do you rate?
So there are different type of people, I believe. There are the people who are that I don't trust you until you earn my trust, or I trust you until
You give me a reason not to.
you give me a reason not to. So I am that person. So by default, I trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. So I really never try to read behind the agenda. Like, what is behind? It's like, why do you really take time to come and give me things behind, right? So I try to read your face, but from a trust perspective, not like, okay, let me see how this goes, right? Because if you say, oh yeah, we can do this, I've done that, I've answered, oh great, cool, this is what we can do, until you actually prove me that you are not the person I thought or the person you position myself to. So of course that comes with a lot of disappointment. But again, I would rather be with you with a peace of mind that I trust you, rather than we are trying to work it out until I trust you, because I feel like it's a waste of time and waste of energy, because it makes me feel like I'm trying to read you, like what do you mean? You say
You're working too hard with your brain.
yeah, I work too hard. Like you say A, I'm like, do you mean A or B? Actually, you say blue, but it's like, did you actually really say blue, or you said something else? You see, I would rather be like, if you say blue, it's blue, until actually you show me that, oh, you didn't say blue, right? So it really gives me a peace of mind in that sense.
Do you feel like because you trust over the years, people have taken advantage of that?
They have probably also have taken advantage as well. Let me start from that.
Okay.
But yes, people take advantage, right? But we also have to always remember that we are in a capitalism world, right? Regardless we accept it or not accept it, it's always what it's in for me, right? So regardless, I tell you, I'm here, I'm really, really, actually, honestly, really passionate about job creations. I'm passionate about growth of young people, right? I'm always happy when a young person get an opportunity, right? But am I also actually gonna do this as a volunteer? No, right? I also have to get something from it, right? And then getting something from it does not necessarily means money all the time, right? Sometimes I tell people that you see teachers, the joy of a teacher when someone they taught become a minister or a president. So that's already a result for them,
Yeah. It's
right?
intrinsic benefit.
It's an interesting benefit. So I think it's more about, what do I want to benefit from this, and then also be very clear to yourself as well, that I am helping you so that I can feel good, right? Or I'm helping you so that I can get a cut on the money you're gonna make, right? Because I also, this is what I tell people as well, that, this like charity organizations, right? They do, I believe that you do charity for two reasons, or many reasons. Let me say many reasons. But one of the reasons of why people do charity is for them to feel good about themselves. You cannot take a cut of the money that you sweated for to give it when you're unhappy about it, right? So one of that reasons should be to actually feel good about yourself.
Earlier on, you talked about your path, having successfully pursued a career in corporate, up until the point where you decided that, okay, you were going to focus full time on your entrepreneurial activities. Do you feel like there was a high amount of trust that your employers then had for you, in a way that reflects on the way you yourself hold yourself when it comes to trust? Because most of the times, it's not everybody who gets that opportunity to be able to literally run two paths, entrepreneurship and full-time employment.
So one thing is, I've always been very clear to people I work for. So I've never hidden that I have a side hustle.
Okay.
I've always communicated this. So to the point that some jobs that I actually never gotten was that, oh, Malik, you are too involved in so many things, so you cannot have time for us. Or you are too involved in so many things, you won't be dedicated for us for a very long time. So you feel like this is just one of the job for you, right? And that's just because I really never go on LinkedIn on my CV and then write one thing when I'm doing 20 things, right? So I write everything I'm doing, so that when you hire me, when you call me, you know
what you're getting
yourself into. Okay. So so that has really been very helpful for me in my journey, and I'm sure some people didn't appreciate it. As I'm telling you, I've got some rejections in job applications, and then when I get a rejection on those type of jobs, or when someone is not appreciating it, I don't feel bad about it, because I'm being really honest and transparent. So if you don't like that I'm transparent, there's nothing else I can do.
What, in your view, is the hardest lesson you've learned about trusting people in business, especially when you had a period where you were probably not fully focused on your entrepreneurial gigs because you had other commitments? Okay, let me wait for it.
No, it's the biggest trust is destroyed on money. Okay. For some reason, right? You can get so many things that goes wrong in business, but when it's money involved, it becomes an issue. I think I have had two things really that I felt bad about. So one, there is a person that I really, really considered as a friend, genuinely as a friend, and I trusted that person. So we ended up by almost doing the same, and almost really be like competitors, and that broken our friendship. No matter how much I tried to get the friendship back, I really never gotten it back. So that showed me, and I know that I've really tried, I've done so much. So that was really a bit painful for me, because it's one of those things you're like, okay, I see what our friendship meant. It was monetary friendship. So that was painful.
I can see the look on your face now. Just thinking about it, I can see.
Yeah, and then another one, it's just again someone I trusted with my bank account, and again, rather than doing what they're supposed to be doing with our client, they started doing other things
On the
besides
side.
they should not be doing with client or potential client. But that was just a simple lesson. I was like, if you are a startup, just be involved in everything. Don't trust anyone
Anybody.
until you really build systems and processes that you can audit yourself, audit people you work with. But until you have that,
You
just be
shouldn't.
involved in everything.
Wow. Do you feel like maybe these situations have made people a lot more cautious, especially in Rwanda? Do you
Yeah.
feel like Rwandans are a lot more cautious when it comes to trust and opening up to people when it comes to business relationships?
I think that doesn't come from disappointment. It comes from our history, right?
Okay.
So we are a community that's been disappointed a lot
Okay.
by our own, by international organization, etc. So you can understand as a community that has a history of disappointment, trust is actually a problem. So if you meet a Rwandan and the first question is like, who are you? Where are you coming from? And they give you that bottom to top eye, side eye look. So just understand where they're coming from, right? We're just a country of 31 years old. And you're just about 31 years old. We've went through a lot, right? So people's hearts are really, really broken.
Yep.
So it's gonna take quite some time to build that trust, right? We are building the trust among us. Now, imagine now opening up for the rest of the world. So it's really gonna take time. I actually feel like we are doing so well when it comes to that compared to where we should
Where
be.
you've come from and the
Yeah.
journey. Where do you think that resilience comes from, to have come from this difficult history and having to live with the reality of still having
Yeah.
some fear or trust deficit, but still be able to open up to the world? And Rwanda currently has one of the most transparent visa
Yeah.
processes around the continent. Where does that resilience come from?
I think it comes from a good leadership, right? Honestly, that's it. Because if you don't have great leadership that says, okay, this has happened to us, but we just need to leave this behind and then move forward, right? It becomes quite a big issue. It becomes problematic. So when then you decide to look forward, this is what you get. So I would say that we've really had a great leadership that has been from the get-go educating us, educating our parents, educating everyone that what happened, right? We will never forget, but let's move, right? And then that start even from unity and reconciliations, right? Let's forgive between us, right? Like someone killed your parents, someone killed your husband, but it's okay to forgive that person. So if you are able to forgive someone that killed your parents, how can you not move forward? How can you not trust a business person, right? It's as deep and as heavy like that. So if today someone had killed your kids, children, or husband, and you are able to share food, or you are in the same office, and you've let that go, what else?
You are more open to explore.
Exactly,
And
the opportunities are endless.
do you feel like, I don't know, this question, do you feel like Rwanda is a good place to be a young entrepreneur right now, looking at where the world is?
I think Rwanda is a good place for any entrepreneur to be, not just for young entrepreneurs. For young entrepreneurs, even more, because there's a lot of opportunities that are being given to young people. Look at where we are here, right? I think probably over 80% of the businesses in these premises, if I can say the name, at Zaria Court,
Yes.
are for young people under 35,
Yep.
right? So Kivunal is owned by a young person. Flex is owned by a young person, non-Rwandan, who came here for study and now has over 3 businesses in the country. There is like Atu Buhanzi there, that is a collective of young people.
Yes.
So It's not even just for Rwandans, right? It's for everyone and all young people, right? Flex now is becoming one of the most sportwear brand
in the country.
on the continent, right? It has superstars like Didier Drogba that is investing in, right? He started here. He's given all of these opportunities, given a premium location, etc. So, and this is really the opportunities that you get in Rwanda is for what can you do rather than
Who do you know?
who do you know,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah.
What story about Rwanda's business environment do you wish more people knew?
I think it's the flexibility. Um, there's the things that get us rated higher on international level, like easy of doing business, like you can register your business in 24 hours, you can do this in 24 hours, or you can have access to a minister or etc. And that is great. But also another thing that people don't think about is actually how fresh of a country we are, right? We are like an R&D factory. So you can literally come here and test and try anything you want to try because we're still very young. The competition is slightly still really small compared to what is somewhere else, etc. So I think in addition to everything you'd read in media, that is also something that we do have that makes Rwanda really the best place for business.
But then behind this great place for business, great reputation for business, registration, starting a business, and the like, do you feel like there's some economic struggles that don't typically come out that also people will have to be aware of?
Well, yes, of course, there should be economic struggles as everywhere. I think one thing again to think about when you go in any geography, not just Rwanda, is to understand your capacity of the market and the purchase, right? So again, you would not come in a country like Rwanda, I don't know, and then set a Tesla factory here.
Okay.
Right? How many Rwandans can buy Teslas?
Okay.
So you always have to think again on the market, where you are heading, and then what is in for that market. Although what I've seen for smart people, again, what they do in Rwanda, they use Rwanda as a launch pad, right? So they will come and test something and then take that globally, right? So you have companies like Zipline
Yep.
that basically took Rwanda as their R&D, and now it's a global company like supplying things in the US, working with companies like Walmart, etc.
What role do you think entrepreneurs like you will play in shaping Rwanda's economic future, keeping in mind that the systems, the structures, and everything are above board comparatively to most countries, miles ahead? And
Yeah.
still, you talked about knowing the economic capacity in the
Yeah.
country.
I think it's thinking big
Okay.
and start and really start opening our eyes beyond the borders. Try to understand that whatever I have, whatever I'm delivering today, how can this work in Kenya?
Okay.
How can this work in South Africa or in Egypt or anywhere in the world, right? So we should really now start thinking, taking Rwanda to the world, and then on the endless opportunities that the world is giving us.
When you were talking earlier on about the opportunities for young people in Rwanda and the kind of market that it is, a thought came to mind about what it would mean for a young person growing up in Rwanda right now and having that advantage of growing up in an environment where there's structure and some amount of orderliness that comparatively you would not find in most other African countries. Do you feel like there is a competitive advantage that in the next 100, okay, not 100, maybe in the next 50 years, the young Rwandan who is probably 15 today, growing up in such an environment, would now stand and will be miles ahead of their compatriot, maybe in another country that didn't have that structure or that framework?
Well, I think the advantage is already here, right? As I said, it's very, very few countries that you go there and then find young entrepreneurs thriving in their own countries, or young people taking very, like we have a lot of under 30 CEOs. We've had under 30 ministers, right? We've had this many years ago, right? Other countries today are taking pride to nominate like a 30-something-year-old minister, right? So those advantages are already here. But for me, what does this mean in the future is that it's pass on, right? Because we're being passed on this, and then we should take this legacy, not to be greedy when we grow up, right? And continue to pass it on,
Take it on.
and take it on, take it on. So eventually, then at 20 years old, in the next 40 or 30 years old, in the next 30 or 50 years, things should be much easier than it was for us, right?
Yep.
Because people trying to make it easier for us in the means they had. So, and I hope that in the next 30 years we will have more means, so we should even make it much easier for them than the way it was easier for us.
What drives you now when you sit down and look at the businesses and the things you're involved in? Is it money? Is it legacy? Or something else?
I want more young people to have opportunities. I'm really one thing that, beside my personal struggles, one thing that make me not sleep when I go to bed or I think about is, what can I do that will give me an opportunity and then give other young people opportunities. I'm really for job creation for young people. I'm really for education for young people. And I'm one of those people who just take pride when I see someone that I helped or supported one way or another becoming successful.
You talked about the lessons that you picked up on the streets of Nyamirambo and how you grew up. Do you want your children to grow up differently than you did? Or do you want them to carry with them some of that Nyamirambo toughness?
Well, I do not want my kids to grow in the struggles I grew up in. Definitely no. Because, well, what does that mean if I didn't really like it and then I pass it on as a legacy, right? But I do want my children to grow with certain level of understanding that things are not given. Like, you need to work for things, right? So I would never allow my kids to understand that I can get whatever I want, right? I can work for it. I can deserve it. I get what I deserve, right? I need to open them for multicultural, give them really an exposure to the world and different environment. I want them to understand how to live with people, right? Not just to understand that, because I'm going to this school, there's the people of this level, this is the only people I should really be speaking to. And already I'm practicing this with my 3 years old son. So because again, if I don't start today, I won't start when they're 15.
Looking at everything you know now, based on your journey, if you could speak to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell them that is different from what you knew of the world at the time you were 15?
My 15 years old, oh gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I would just tell him, like, hang in there. Just keep going. The future is bright. I think one of the things I believe in is hope.
Okay.
I'm always hopeful that things happen. Although I can get stressed when things are not really working well, but there's always a tiny piece that I have in my heart that be hopeful, Malik.
Yes.
So keep the hope. And then also, I believe in God. So I wish I should be praying as much as I should. I don't. But I believe that to live in the world, it's a combination of hard working and blessing, right? So I should not really take credit that I've worked hard to be where I am, because I was not, for example, the first student in my class, right? I was not the richest kid in my class. There's so many things that I was not, that I don't think I got that from hard work, but that came with blessings. So again, when I get moment to really thank God, I actually do.
As we wrap up on this interview, there's a question that came to mind. You are a very media savvy person. You've done a number of interviews. You have your own podcast. Maybe one of these days you should invite me for your podcast.
Yes, definitely.
And then we can talk about Afro quality on a different platform and the vision. But more importantly, for you, having been out there, super eloquent and all that, is there a question that you wish one day somebody would ask you in an interview that you've never been asked?
I don't know. I might think about it when I leave. When I live here.
Okay.
No, I try to really be honest in any interviews.
No, and that's what we want. Yes.
Yeah. And actually, I do less preparation for this type of conversations. If it's like a public speaking on a particular topic, and then I do a lot of preps because I need to understand that topic and then how I'm gonna talk about it. But if it's about sharing my personal experience, I flip to your questions like this, because I do not want to give you a planned version of myself. I want to really give it to you the way it is,
raw and original.
the raw and original it is. And unfortunately, you get it depending on the day. So if you are my half day, you get all the hypes. If you're on my low day, then it's gonna be, I don't know. But I try to be authentic as much as I can.
No, we appreciate that. Finally, so today we've talked about your journey, all the things that you are passionate about, wanting to build a better place for young people and helping young people grow in the country. If we look at the creative and entrepreneurial space and the rise of that space in the country, what footnotes do you wish one day would use to describe you or would carry your name as Malik Shafi?
I really want I don't know. I think I have done quite a lot for the industry, but not enough yet. Okay. I still want to do more, and I want that one day, when I won't be in this world, people to remember that there was someone who really fought for us. There was someone who did ABCD so that we can be where we are. Not to thank me, not to thank my family, but to do the same. And say, I'm here because someone did this for me. So therefore, I feel obliged to actually do the same for someone else.
Malik, it's been amazing having this conversation with you.
Thank you very much.
This is where we wrap up. It's been an engaging conversation with Malik Shafi Lazinde. Yes. I didn't mention his surname earlier on. He's an entrepreneur, creative entrepreneur, and businessman coming out of Rwanda. And he's been our guest here on the Rooted in Quality podcast. We'll catch up again next time. Stay tuned in and keep your eye locked up on this channel. You can also look out for him on all social media handles and also check out his podcast as well. Malik, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.